Four ordinary guys with extraordinary ideas for Disney parks. This is Main Street Musings, the experimental podcast of tomorrow.
This is Main Street Musings, Episode 1. My name is Jake, and I am joined today by We Want the Redhead, Tanner.
Yo-ho.
Foolish, mortal, and proud, it's Brock.
Welcome.
And the wildest ride in the wilderness, Eric.
Yeehaw!
All right. I am so excited to be here with you guys today.
Can we take a moment to appreciate Eric's yeehaw?
Thank you. I've been practicing since I was very young.
All right.
This episode, we're going to be talking about Fantasyland Dark Rides.
That's right.
So the way this is going to work is we're going to roll a d4.
Shall we first describe for the people what exactly a dark ride is?
Oh, that's a good call.
So a dark ride, those are going to be, they're very typical of the Disney parks. Those are going to be the indoor rides.
Those are a lot of your classic rides. Yeah. We're talking old school Disneyland.
It's the rides that take place in a dark indoor setting. So the majority of the ride is focused on the theming and the environment. So that's going to be your Pirates of the Caribbean. That's going to be your
Haunted Mansion. Maybe we also want to describe what a D4 is.
What a D4? Oh, so it's
some
like
people are not going to know that.
It's cool. It's a cool little pyramidal structure that has the numbers 1 through 4 listed on there, often used in the popular Wizards of the Coast game, Dungeons and Dragons.
So it's a die.
It's a die. It's a die that you roll.
It's a die with 4 sides that we randomize. Use to randomize.
So what I was looking for,
as we at Main Street Musings call it, a pyramidal structure.
Yeah, pyramidal structure. What I was looking for was your standard die has 6 sides. This die has 4. That was what I was looking for.
Correct, but I wanted to be as pretentious as possible. So we're going to roll a die. We're going to see who goes first, and then we'll each give an elevator pitch about our idea for a dark ride. Again, this is specific to Fantasyland.
Generally, Fantasyland, and I think in all of the parks, is the same. It's kind of like a medieval, fantastical...
sort of fairy tale.
Fairy tale, yeah. That's where you get a lot of the princesses are. It's usually right near the castle, because the castle fits in with that theme.
It's the part where we make a pitch. 4. That is Brock.
That's me.
Brock, are you ready with your pitch?
I will be in just one moment, and I am ready.
All right.
So I'm taking a look at a very old, very famous, very important Disney property that really is kind of underrepresented in the parks. We're looking at Fantasia, specifically the Sorcerer's Apprentice segment. It's where you get that iconic Mickey Mouse in the wizard's hat and the robes. Throughout the story, he messes with magic that he shouldn't, and he enchants some brooms to do his work for him. And eventually they multiply, and there's more and more and more and more and more, and eventually they flood the building. And I'm thinking that would be a really cool ride to go through, kind of in an almost a semi-aquatic ride vehicle. We get a lot of really cool effects and a lot of great story in that, as well as some iconic music.
So we're going to move around the table. It is my turn. For my quick elevator pitch for the Fantasyland Dark Ride, you're walking through the markets of the Fantasyland area when you see Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog beckon you over, and you join him as he takes Lawrence through the other side, and you have accepted your infernal contract, and you are transported to another part of the park. Stay tuned for more. Yeah. So we're looking 3-dimensional. We're looking full sensory experience. It's going to be interesting.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Sounds great.
Tanner, I believe you're up.
All right. So here's my pitch for a new Tangled Dark Ride. Ride along with Maximus the horse on a daring journey to capture the Stabbington brothers after their new prison break. This trackless ride will take guests to many notable locations from the film on a brand new adventure. Maximus Overdrive, a working title.
Maximus Overdrive. I
feel really stood up by the fact that Tanner definitely prepared that.
Yeah, I did not.
And read it off of a prepared thing, and I was just like, this is my pitch.
I wrote 2-sentence summaries for each of them.
That's adorable.
I should start doing that.
And
because he's the bad boy of the podcast.
Yes, bad boys take notes and prepare their statements.
Yeah, I could see Walt sticking out from your shirt there a little bit.
That that, to listeners who skipped our introduction, sounds a lot grosser than it really is.
I think we should just establish right now that Walt is in fact Tanner's singular red chest hair that pops out from underneath his shirt.
That will be very important to the podcast from this point forward.
Honestly, the only important
So
thing.
if we ever on this Disney podcast refer to Walt, there's
Yes.
a good chance that we're not talking about Walt Disney.
It's a 50-50. It's a coin flip's chance. Jake, you
All
thought
right.
you'd get away with it, but no, it's time for your pitch.
I did hope I was going to get away with it. But I would like to pitch another old and oft forgotten Disney movie, which is one of my favorites of all time, Sword in the Stone. All Sword in the Stone really gets in the park is that sword that's in the stone, which is cool, but I would say it's not there 50% of the time. I think it deserves a dark ride. I think it would be awesome for the rider to be an apprentice of Merlin. And you go through, much like Arthur in the movie, or Wart, as Archimedes calls him. I love Archimedes. He's one of my favorite characters. But imagine, you get to sit probably an Omnimover or trackless type thing, and you go through and you get to go underwater when they get transformed into the fish in the movies. Maybe you're up in the treetops with the squirrels. And this all could end with the grand finale being the battle with Madame Mim.
So this is for me as much as it is for anybody else, but can you give a quick definition of what you mean by trackless?
What it is you're in a vehicle that does not actually stay on a track. Instead, it uses RFID tags in the floor, and it drives around it, on its own locomotion. And it can follow a bunch of different paths, all without being tied down to one specific track. So there's a lot more fluid motion.
Feels a lot more natural and realistic.
Yeah. Sure.
And as the rider, you can't see a physical track. I mean, Disney does their best to hide tracks with dark and black paint, but you can still, as the rider, you can see it, and it kind of takes you out of the fantasy. In these trackless rides, you have no idea which way you're going to turn next.
Yes, and in fact, it does allow for a lot of versatility. Like in some rides, carts will go in two different directions, or they'll start dancing around one another in a way that you wouldn't
we could
expect.
finally get that Indiana Jones experience where you have the 3 snake heads, but you only ever go through the one.
Yes.
So you could actually go through the other 2.
That's exactly correct.
Yes. A good trackless ride example of Disneyland you might be more familiar with is at Cars Land. The dancing Luigi's family that's dancing, that's a trackless ride.
Cool. It's the part where we do Q&A.
Yeah, I've got a question for Tanner. So you're riding on Maximus. How does that what does that cart look like? What does the ride vehicle look like?
I'm picturing a carousel type ride for
Okay.
2 people on it. So a parent can ride with a child if necessary, 2 seats on Maximus the horse.
Are you actually straddling this thing?
Yes.
So sort of like the Banshee ride in Pandora.
Very similar to the Banshee ride where you're straddling on top of it and you can actually feel the movement of the horse.
Oh,
so
that's
using
neat.
some of the Indiana Jones technology
So
of
it's actually
the terrain
simulating
to
galloping?
simulate the galloping of the horse.
Oh, that'd be
as it
neat.
speeds up and also going into a trot at different points to change up
sweet.
the pacing of the ride as you're going through different areas.
Very
like
cool.
that.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm excited about that. So talk to me about this final battle with Madame Mim. How is that going to be presented?
So I'm thinking, because the whole thing with the battle is Merlin and Madame Mim keep changing into different animals and stuff. And I think using projection mapping and misdirection and different animatronics as you travel, it could be pretty cool to see. Some of the transformations happen off screen. I think it's just easier for the animators. Merlin hops into a log as one animal and he comes out of the log as another. So you could easily have separate animatronics, for that purpose.
Absolutely.
I feel that would be really cool to see live, and as you're traveling and maybe they're fighting over you and you're seeing explosions over the top of you or water shooting around
Absolutely.
you.
That is a really chaotic scene with a lot of energy in it, and I think
Yeah.
that'd be really cool to be in the middle of.
Yeah.
I think-
really just want to bring Sword in the Stone more to light.
Yeah,
I think it doesn't get enough.
Honestly, Sword in the Stone is one of those that I think will be mentioned more often than a lot of movies on this podcast.
I mean, all 4 of us talked about something that I think all of them are a little too underrepresented at the moment.
Absolutely.
Though they're obviously doing some stuff with Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, that
coming up.
So
Yes.
But honestly, I think I like your idea better than what they're planning on doing.
Yeah, let's talk about that idea
Yeah,
for a second. I got a question. So
Yeah.
you said, we're being beckoned in by Dr. Facilier.
Yes.
And then we follow Lawrence. Is that going to be sort of in the queue, or is
Yes.
that...
So the
Okay.
queue is very so. I don't want the line to be spilling out, obviously. I also don't really want a sign that says this is the ride, right? Because a lot of I totally understand the marketing value of putting a big sign that says this is what your ride is. But I really just want it to be like an animatronic or a statue or something, a Facilier, and then you open a door and then you're moving down subterranean.
Well,
And then-
honestly, I mean, I guess you could still do that. Like, there's a dilapidated sign because they have to have like pregnant women can't,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of warning on there. But you could have like a dilapidated sign hanging
Yeah.
next to the statue, and as long as it's clearly marked and it has all the legal
Yeah.
requirements, I still think it works without.
Yeah, it'd either be a door or like a curtain to make it seem like you're going into Facilier's like back room or whatever where he has all his voodoo. And then sort of incorporate kind of like they do with the Haunted Mansion is have like an initial queue, right? Where you're in Facilier's room,
Which is also underground.
which is also underground. And then you have Lawrence accept as like sort of the audience surrogate, accept the invitation for the spirits. And then you're taken down even further.
So a weird example for that might be that sort of those scenes in front of the Guardians of the Galaxy mission Breakout with the Rocket Raccoon kind of speaking. So that would be kind of like the Lawrence there, right?
Oh,
where he's-
when you go into that
yeah.
room,
So
and
it's still
Rocket
you're
comes
still in
out.
the queue, but there's an animatronic. There's a little bit of a pre-show,
Gotcha.
right? Is
yeah,
that-
yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Or like in the original Tower of Terror in Disney
Yeah, with
World,
Rod
you go into the
Serling,
library and you watch the video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of the things that is important to this idea is that like it looks like a full room, that there's no projectable walls, and then everything kind of cuts out, and it's a trick of either how it's set up or projections, and then the room is just Facilier's face like all around you, like,
that would be
like
sweet.
laughing as he goes.
Oh,
down.
wow, that's
you
perfect.
could
And all the
achieve that with instead of walls, you use screens and then
Yeah.
you rear project onto them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like,
Perfect.
yeah,
that's a technology that they use a lot, and it every time it's amazing.
it's just so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I love this idea. There's one thing, if we move forward with it, that I want to be cautious of is Disney's troubling history of rides where they made them way too scary for children.
That is
So
very true.
Our
That is a
alien
consideration.
encounters, our
Yeah.
Snow White's Scary Adventure that's changed several times. Is there going to be a moment of brightness for these kids?
absolutely.
Well, and I think this is going to mainly, maybe I'm wrong, but is this mainly going to focus on the song?
yes.
So I think that being such a great song, I think that'll help.
Yeah.
I mean, an alien, if the alien was singing while it was attacking, it definitely would have taken the fear level down.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
and the spirits and stuff that are moving around are going to be dancing and kind of like
And cartoony.
cartoony, right? You know?
Okay, great. Yes,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure we were going to have some bright moments so we don't have to redesign this ride in a year.
Brock, with your Fantasia thing, we were touching on the amphibious nature of
Yeah.
the vehicle. Walk us through a little bit more about. You talked about it getting flooded.
Yeah, so essentially in the original cartoon, he enchants a broom to do his work for him, which is filling a cauldron with buckets from a well. Then the broom goes a little too far and starts to pour too much. Mickey destroys the broom, which actually with an axe, which actually ends up making more brooms, and so they end up flooding the building. So I think it'd be really neat. And while this happens, Mickey has fallen asleep and he's dreaming about all these magical things he could do. He could change the stars, he could change the sky, and how amazing it would be to have magic. And then he wakes up to find that it has flooded. And so I think it'd be really cool if we kind of get to see his dreams, maybe projected on the ceiling. So there's that element of misdirection. While the riders are paying attention to what's going on above and around them, they don't realize that the ride vehicle has actually kind of followed a track down into water, and water is rising up toward the top of the ride vehicle. So when Mickey realizes that he is become flooded, we look around us and we're surrounded by water where previously it was dry. And I think that'd be a really cool effect because we have dark rides, like Pirates of the Caribbean that are in water, and we have dark rides like Haunted Mansion, which isn't, but I think having a way to kind of incorporate both of those in one ride is a really cool dynamic effect.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
And having the misdirection, I think, really puts you in that headspace that Mickey Mouse is in. Yeah.
I mean, that's a moment too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like that's an memorable experience of just like
very wow.
snap in and oh my god, I'm literally surrounded by water.
Yeah, and it's startling because you don't expect it. And I know Disney can do that. They have that soundtrack blaring. You don't hear it come up. You don't see it because you're looking at the sky. I think that's going to be a really fantastic.
Well, even if you use something similar to the Expedition Everest switching of the track and use the moment of watching the dreams as a way to switch the track and slide down into the water even as a way to do that, because that's the same technology they use to keep those pirates' boats moving.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited about all 4 of these ideas, guys.
Yeah, me
we
too.
did a good job. But unfortunately, as is the nature of our podcast, by the very rules that we set, we can only pick one to move forward with.
It's the part where we vote.
Now, I think to vote, let's we'll go around and we'll start with Brock, and we'll go around and everybody just say which one you think we should go for.
Do we say we can't vote for your own?
I would say don't vote for your own.
It'd be kind of an asshole move anyway.
Honestly, I don't know that I want to vote for my own anyway after hearing some of the stuff you guys came
I'm
up
excited
with,
about some of these other pitches.
All right, so Brock, aside from your own, which would you be most interested in exploring and developing?
I am really, really, really interested, first of all, in the scene that it comes from in Eric's pitch, but also the way he's incorporating the geography of the park, where he was talking about how it starts in Fantasyland, and then when you get out, you're in New Orleans Square, which works so thematically perfectly with the ride. That seems really interesting, and I'm kind of excited to see something like that.
So, so you vote for Eric's.
Eric is my pick.
Well, I was going to say you vote for Eric's Princess and the Frog pitch.
No, it's Eric. I'm voting specifically for Eric.
See, that's what we have to try to avoid.
Eric needs to be in the park.
He'll be the guy beckoning you in. Yeah. Eric, what do you vote for?
They're all so good. I think, so this is just me being honest, having not been to the new Pandora specifically, so I haven't gotten a chance to do the Avatar ride where you're straddling.
I don't believe any of us have.
None of us have actually
that sounds
been on that.
I have.
Oh, you have?
You.
Oh, well, nobody asked you.
I have ridden on the back of the Mighty Akron.
I think I'm going to have to go, and also just the name. I'm going to have to vote for Tanner's Maximus
Overdrive.
Maximus Overdrive.
It would be really nice to have a tangled
representation
other than the bathrooms. What were they thinking? Come on. I get it.
They're nice bathrooms.
Yeah, they're nice bathrooms, but it's so disappointing when you see that tower and you go toward it and it's a frickin' bathroom.
Yeah, but it's not disappointing if you got to pee.
That's true.
Yeah, you know what? Fine.
I mean,
Then
if the
it's like
tower had a big neon sign on top that said "Pee here," I think it would be less
I think
disappointing.
it did originally in the movie.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they had to cut that.
Yeah.
It sets up expectations better, if nothing else.
Yeah.
All right, T.
All right, Tanner.
All right. So, I loved a lot of the ideas here today. Something that really is interesting me, though, is the idea of using projections as a distraction to transition from land to water in a ride. I think is something new and very exciting. So, because of that, I'm going to go with Brock's pitch for Fantasia.
Yeah, that is a moment.
Okay, so does this mean that each of you voted for something different and I'm going to have to be the tiebreaker?
Mr.
Yeah.
Tiebreaker.
Oh, no.
Not only did you get no votes, you now have to be the biggest jerk.
To be fair, I think my pitch was the weakest of the 4.
I think it's sweet. They're like,
You're only saying that because it's true, Jake.
I mean, there's something to be said. All of them provide unique moments. I think the battle sequence, the climax battle that you're
that's
talking
pretty
about
incredible.
is super
Yeah.
cool.
If that could work.
Okay, so I'm really torn, guys. This is hard because you guys all made some really good cases.
We have a D4.
Got a coin to flip.
So I want to explore all these ideas later.
Yeah.
But for today, I think I would really like to explore Eric's Princess and the Frog pitch.
All right.
I think.
Cool.
Ooh, congratulations, Eric.
Thank you.
So-
Thank you.
All right. So now we come to the point of the show where we kind of dive in and get in depth about these ideas. Or
Yes.
this idea.
So I am very excited to get your guys' input because you guys know significantly more about how the rides themselves function. A lot of my theming currently is in the queue and sort of the, like Brock was talking about, the transportational secondary function of it, right? Like just the very unique, we start in one area and we end in the next. And that's kind of where I kind of hung my hat on in this one. So I'm going to talk about just a little bit of what I would want to happen, and then you guys can tell me how it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think just walk us through how you pictured this ride.
Yeah.
From start to end.
So we have the Facilier statue or animatronic. So I'm kind of seeing it.
Well, we could start with, I'm sorry, not to
No, please.
interrupt
Yeah.
early on, but if you look at, there's some pretty amazing, like, in-park animatronics. Like, if you take a look at, golly, what's his name? Mr. Potato Head for
Yeah.
the Toy Story Mania. They do some pretty
And he's kinda like
spectacular
the
stuff with that.
barker.
He's kind of the barker for that ride.
Yeah. There
But
used to be the Barker bird for...
Oh, the Enchanted Tiki Room.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but I suppose this is a little out of the realm of that. But having him 98% of the day appear as a statue, but then every now and then he'll make a move. He'll turn his head. He'll blink. He'll
kind of like Leota blinking.
kind of like Leota
Yeah,
blinking.
and the
Yeah,
tombstone.
exactly. So he's just got these like slight magical tints
Yeah.
to him.
Oh, that's... Or like he squirts water at you like the camel.
Maybe
Yeah.
not that. But
He
you know,
squirts magic potions at you,
Yeah.
like the other camel.
So tell me if this is like this is what was going through my head. Tell me if this is like way too unrealistic.
Okay.
You could only do this if you got like a fast pass, right? Like you can't just get in the queue.
So are you thinking kind of like... I know you're not as familiar with this, but
Right.
the way Dumbo works now in Florida at Walt Disney World, they tried to do an attraction queue without an actual line.
Yeah.
Now, Tanner, have you experienced this firsthand?
No, but I was going to say it's not that different from the loading groups that they're using for the Star Wars Rise of the
Right.
Resistance.
So there's
ride
a
would be
couple of
another
different ways to
functional way
handle
to do
this.
this.
Sure. So walk me through how that works.
So my understanding of how Dumbo works is I still have not experienced it firsthand. You go into the big circus tent and you kind of take a number or something, kind of like a deli, okay? And then you're in this circus tent and you get to play games.
Yeah.
They have all these interactive things for people to do. And then when they call your number, you actually go on the ride.
Oh,
So you
cool.
don't feel like you're standing in a line.
Yeah, so that's kind of like what I was thinking of, like something like that themed to the Facilier thing. And then it also, this is where it gets a little out there, guys. It also comes with like a mini like earbud that Facilier whispers into you that it's time to go to the other side, kind of wherever you're at.
that is
that would be-
absolutely phenomenal, but absolutely
Absolutely
impossible.
impossible. right?
Especially in these days of coronavirus.
Yeah, obviously this is imagined without coronavirus being a thing. Anyway, so that was
But
like,
I think there's probably a more cost-effective way of doing that in some sort of capacity. I
Well,
don't know
and
what it would be.
part of the thing is too, I guess Disney is getting rid of magic bands now, which was like this huge thing, and it's partially because they want everything to go onto the phone app.
okay.
So I'm wondering if there would be a way to incorporate
Yeah.
that into your app.
So, I love the theming of taking a number with the Dumbo ride. What if the way to reserve your spot in the line for the other side ride is to sign a contract with
Ooh.
Dr. Facilier to
Yeah.
get your family's
Would
name?
would you actually have the thing
passage.
prick your finger and take your blood?
All right, if I can't do my earbud, we can't draw blood.
well, even less of a signing your name thing. He's got that magic totem, right?
Well,
That-
the totem is the thing that pricks your finger.
I know, but I'm saying so
yeah.
it like that has your number on it, or that
Yeah.
vibrates when it's time to go,
Like
or
at
like
Chili's.
Well, honestly, yeah, they use that technology, but the eyes
And
light
you know
up,
what?
and
That
it
thing-
like,
yeah, I was gonna say it
and it
glows.
whispers to you.
Yeah, that would be.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
a
That
great
could be
way of
neat.
doing it.
yeah.
All right, so continuing on.
Yeah,
the
so I
ride.
think with a little bit of discussions, there obviously needs to be some room for some walkthrough queue so that we can control that a little bit, and then that can be like the front of like the storefront, right? And then when it's time to go to the ride, you're ushered in as a group, kind of like you are in a haunted mansion. There's like a desk set up. Lawrence is talking to Facilier on one side of it. He accepts the contract. Everything we find that the room is completely like, even though it looks fully real, is like fully like 3D back projected kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then just Facilier's face on 3-dimensionally around, kind of laughing as we go down.
I know
Is
this is
that
a
too
weird-
intense?
And you can fill the ceiling with fog.
Yeah,
know?
green fog.
I don't
think.
think
Yeah,
I don't think that's too intense. I mean, it takes a lot of cues from Haunted Mansion, not in a bad way, in a very
Right.
good
Yeah, in
way,
a good way.
and not in a way that seems too derivative either. But
Yeah.
I think it's about on that level.
Yeah.
Haunted
do-
Mansion has a man hanging.
Yeah,
I
hanging
think
from
this
the
Yeah,
will
tree.
be
so I think
okay.
this is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is implied to be a suicide.
Which is dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not any scarier than
My
that.
other question is Prince Naveen gonna be part of the ride?
Not in my original. I envisioned him at the end of it.
Okay, so like as a frog at the end of it?
Probably him.
Probably the welcome back.
Yeah, the
everything's
welcome back
fine,
party.
Kind of
Okay.
the end of
Yeah.
the movie.
Right. Okay, when we end in New Orleans Square
Yeah.
and all the characters are there.
Yeah,
That's
so
what you
this
mean.
is-
okay, perfect.
Do
Yeah.
we see Ray get brutally murdered during the ride?
1,000% yes. I wanted to take Lawrence's journey specifically because it's sort of like a subsect of it.
Yeah, and he's sort of the one who becomes corrupted. Welcome to Disneyland, home of moral corruption and voodoo.
I am really enjoying the idea of this, like the trackless ride, quick turns into like spirits dancing into like Lawrence's head. Right?
Now, I should say, just because you were not familiar with trackless
Right.
ride, it seems that trackless rides are the way of the future. It seems
Sure.
like Disney isn't doing track rides
Yeah.
anymore, unless it's a roller coaster.
Yeah, unless it has a specific purpose
Otherwise,
to be a
it
track
seems like
ride.
they're specifically going with trackless.
For the dark rides,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think what you could do with that also is, and it might even help with your crowd control thing, is splitting into two separate paths.
yeah.
That
Yeah, you
way,
could have the ride twice, like
Yeah.
Mr. Toad.
yeah. And it also would be neat because the shop is labyrinthine, and you go to the other side, and it might make your ride experience a little different.
I
every
want.
time.
Yeah, I love that. Like two or
plus
three
I like
different
the
things.
idea of you're with other cars. You see other people, and then at some point you're by yourself, and it's like,
Separated,
ooh, now we're dark on the other side, and it's just us.
Yeah, so obviously my original idea was Lawrence centric, but to your point, with the multi journeys through, we could theoretically follow any one of like up to 3 different people's journey through the other side and
That's
have
true,
a
that's
unique
true.
experience each time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could get the Naveen route, you could get the Lawrence route,
Yeah,
or even following the Shadow Man himself.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something going on there.
yeah.
Although I do kind of like him popping up a little bit, like the Ghost Host, or
Yeah.
Yeah,
pop up
I
at certain
like that
moments.
idea. Where
Or
it's like
Jack
he's toying
Sparrow
with
in
us.
Pirates of the Caribbean, only
Only
better
good.
Only good.
and not excessive.
Yeah,
The idea of also stealing a little bit of what Brock was talking about using magician tricks
Yeah.
to surprise riders as they're going
Which
around.
is
Yeah.
perfectly themed for Facilier, because
Yeah.
not
He's a con
only
man.
not only does he practice dark magic, but he also is a master of sleight of hand and
Yeah.
conning
Yeah.
people.
I would love for it to be multiple separate instances throughout the ride of like everything around you looks like one thing, and then all of the sudden just changes into something else.
Yeah.
And with projection mapping, that's
Well,
so
especially,
easy to do.
I know none of us have experienced it in person, but I've watched the ride through of the new Mickey and Minnie ride, and that's how that works.
They also do a lot of that in the Mystic Manor ride
Yes.
in Hong Kong in a really cool way.
Yeah.
And his shop is like a bizarre curio shop. And
Yeah.
There's those masks on the wall that become dark, scary faces, and those moments where all you see is a scary, dark face, and then
Yeah.
you're just in the shop again.
Yeah.
Oh wait, what's that over there? Oh wait, no, it's this, and I think
Yeah.
that'd be perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
And lighting and projection mapping, everything will make this totally doable.
It would
Yeah.
be cool as well if the whole ride, you're going all these different places, you're going through the Shadow Realm and all that, but then at the end, it looks like the entire time you were just in that shop.
Yeah,
and
that's-
it kind of disorients your
Yeah.
idea of what's going on, and
Yeah.
then you leave and you're in a different place.
Yeah, even though you're in the
even though it
shop.
feels
Yeah.
like you never
Yeah.
left.
that is something I definitely was looking at. Just like different points of the ride where it kind of stops, the shop kind of materializes around you,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden one of the other masks like comes up and takes you down like a different path.
Yeah, that's cool.
I was just going to say, using some of that, the trackless system, you can also give opportunities to tease like an exit into something fun, and then use the sharp turns back into Bastillier's not done playing with you yet.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh, that's really neat.
Yeah. I love that idea. We're going into a happy dream. No, we're going.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
going
that's
back
so-
to
So
in-
you
in
even can tease
Universal-
like a little bit of the like Ray and all of those characters, and see, oh, you're coming to see them now, and oh, nope, we're going back into fire.
Well, that's in Universal Studios, the Mummy ride does that.
Yeah.
Now it's an older ride.
You can
and
tell.
You can tell it's not
But it-
real.
it is
but
a really fun
modern-
concept
But it
with
is
that
really
false
cool.
ending to
Like,
the
oh,
ride.
the ride's done. The cart comes to a stop. You see the lady in the window, like, thank you, welcome back, riders.
Yeah.
And then the mummy like kills her, and then the ceiling catches on fire, and like,
Oh, that's
A little dark for Disney, but
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
But you know, a Disney-fied version of that.
yeah,
twist.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Plus, with modern
absolutely.
technology, I think it could definitely be more believable.
Yeah.
I was thinking another fun aesthetic choice, the tarot cards.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, those are all about chance. Those are all about, you know, there's 78 different cards, and you could kind of incorporate that into the random elements of the ride. You could...
Now, you can't have 78 ride
No,
options.
obviously not. But, you know, you can have 78 projections, you know, if that's
you
what you
change
want to do.
things up.
Yeah, I think that
He could draw a card, and then it blows up, and it's the screen, and suddenly you're driving straight into death. And
So
obviously it's not
potentially
gonna
it
be-
could be the same ride, but using projection mapping, you could change the theming a little bit.
yeah.
I mean,
So,
we aren't
like-
going to have a whole ride based on the Three of Cups, but
no. But
Yeah,
so
but
like
little
you could,
things
if
like
it
that.
was like the Lovers.
Yeah.
You know, the whole ride. If that was your
Yeah.
card that was drawn, it still is the same song, still the same ride, but
Yeah.
everything is themed with like hearts, but not like pretty pink hearts. We're talking like
Yeah.
disturbing green,
Human
smoky-
anatomy hearts.
Yes.
blood
Dumped
spurting
I
everywhere.
love the idea that every time you do it, it's a unique experience
Yeah.
somehow, or at
That's
least has
actually-
the possibility to be a unique
and I'm
experience.
not saying that like every single element has to change based on tarot cards, but you know there could just
Right.
be a moment where he draws some cards, and each time a different thing is projected onto the table.
Yeah.
That's all I mean by
Yeah.
that. But yeah, you
But
could
I
even
think
go farther
incorporating
with
it into the ride itself, I think, would
Yeah.
be really
Yeah.
cool.
And that's
Yeah.
something Disney loves to do, and has been moving towards more with like the Guardians.
Yeah,
Drop
so that,
Ride has
as
8
far
different
as I
songs.
know, it originally started with, Mr. Toad having 2 different tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But then on Tower of Terror and Walt Disney World, they started having the different versions where it would have different launch sequences.
Oh, yeah.
And you never knew how many times you're going to go up or down
Yeah.
or whatever. But yeah, Disney has been slowly trying to do more and more where it's different every time. And
All the
you're
different
right.
Star Tours.
Yeah, all the Star
Yeah.
Tours journeys. Guardians is a great example of that, having the different songs and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It was always part of like the formation of this idea that you at least have the option that it's never going to be the same twice.
Yeah, which I think is great for every ride because it increases its rideability.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, like us, I can ride Haunted Mansion 100 times and be happy.
But not
And it's
everyone
the same
can.
every time. But not everybody can. So we've got through the queue.
Yeah.
We've kind of discussed how the ride will work.
Yeah.
Should we kind of focus on? Obviously, we have the song playing. I
Yes,
think
the song
we
is-
definitely need to have the song because that song.
Yeah.
That's a good.
That's
movie.
the iconic-
It's a great
it's
movie,
the-
but that is the best
it's the
song in
iconic
movie, in
moment
my
of the
opinion.
movie to
Yeah.
me, and I think a lot of our generation. The movie's it's great. It's not my favorite.
It's fine.
but that scene
Yeah.
is one of
So
my
good,
favorite
yeah.
Disney scenes.
And I love. So I saw this in a meme once, but you know the song is building.
We're millennials.
Yeah, you know, meme. But so the song is building, and they're sitting at the table, and then he gets the blood, and he goes, "Yes," and you start hearing the "Are you ready?" And in the
Are
meme
you
it said,
ready?
"When you start hearing the Are you ready?" You know shit is about to go down. And I think that having that in the ride, you know, that moment of just like, here we go.
Also,
Yeah.
can we take a brief moment to talk about Keith David?
Oh
yes.
my
The
God.
voice of
Yes,
Dr.
I will
Facilier,
always talk about
who
Keith
is
David.
he's still obviously working and he's still going strong. And
He's
I
a
think
regular on Rick and Morty.
He's
right now.
yeah, and he does quite a bit of voice work, and it's amazing. And I think incorporating his ride because I don't know his schedule, but
Oh,
I
we're
think-
not doing this ride without Keith David.
Yeah, I think they could definitely get him to record some new dialogue,
yeah.
some new
Yeah,
options,
definitely.
and just having that
keep it fresh.
that very fresh, really interesting,
Yeah.
scary voice that's also very
Hey,
soothing.
Lawrence, would you like the coronavirus? Are
guess I
you ready?
I didn't mean topical references, but I'm not opposed.
Oh man.
But yeah. But I'm
Hey,
just,
I mean, this ride does have a lot of masks. I seem to
have a lot of
recall.
so are there any other like really cool things?
Well, so I had a thought, and I don't know if I'm stepping on your
No,
idea.
please.
But
Please.
so obviously we're still in the shop, but I also another scene in the movie that fits it because it matches this scene is at the end of the movie, Faslier's death. When
Yeah.
they're in the now we don't have to show him dying because we want to leave it a little open ended.
Yeah.
But I really love when you see him getting dragged and they're in the cemetery. It would
Yeah.
be really cool to have the New Orleans cemetery with the shadows.
Yeah,
dancing
I mean, New
around
Orleans
it.
cemeteries are iconic.
Yeah. Now again, this is starting to sound a little like Haunted Mansion, but
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
I think that has to be the climax of the ride, right? Like,
or they could, even just a little thing, they could stick Faslier's grave in the Haunted Mansion graveyard.
I-
The one
honest-
where you see his face looking all distorted. and
Yeah.
he's, like,
I do
freaked
have
out.
a thought, and this might be overkill. It's sort of subterraneous,
Yeah.
or at least it's made to look like that when you enter and exit. The New Orleans graveyards are known for their above ground graves,
Yes.
because of the way it's buried. So it's these little buildings. What if you exit through one of
Ooh,
those
I
little
love
buildings
that.
Oh,
that's
that's cool.
in the Haunted Mansion graveyard?
Yeah.
So the exit, you come out and you're in New Orleans Square, but you're also next to the Haunted Mansion in this
That's really
graveyard.
cool.
And it's just from the outside, because you're rising up, it looks
Yeah.
like just a small little,
Yeah.
unassuming
So I'm.
grave
That's
in the
really good.
graveyard.
I just
Yeah.
I don't know if we touched on it well enough earlier with the pitches and everything. So
Yeah.
so Eric's part of his pitch is that this ride will start in Fantasyland.
Yeah.
This is a Fantasyland ride, but the exit queue spits you out into Northern
Northern
Square,
Square. Yeah.
which is I think really cool, moving you from one section of the park to the other.
Yeah.
The only downside of that is I don't know how far that is. I'm not looking at a map.
Getting the vehicles back in like a timely manner is probably an issue.
Well, and then the other thing is you've got to be careful of because Disney is pretty good about if somebody doesn't go on the ride for your party, they
Yeah.
have somewhere to wait for you to get off the ride. And there's always the concern of if you get on in one location and then while you're on the ride, your family member has to go to a completely new location to wait
Right.
for you to get off. That being said, I love this idea.
Right.
I'm
I'm-
just being picky and Debbie Downer. Over
I'm gonna
here.
play.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna play the card, which is that's for the engineers to figure out.
Well, we've
That's
got to
really
do a little bit.
No, that is obviously it's an ambitious enough project to
Yeah.
put something like this underground. You could have like a quick little tram that shoots to the exit, right?
I live my life with one motto, which is never compromise. So I think this ride will work as a traveling ride, and we can use. There's no reason if we're gonna dig underground, we can't dig a second tunnel that's just a straight path.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's true. It could be a very
That's why the
Like
ambition
a
of the
fun, like
A fun
brightly
themed
colored in case
with
it's
the-
a kid's scared.
with
yeah.
the fun masks though, and
Yeah.
the aesthetic of the ride.
yeah, and it's just like a people mover back and forth. That way, you have people that can like
Yeah.
employees and go through that because I think that is something at least in concept. That idea is what drew me to this in the first
Oh, yeah,
place.
100%.
So,
I think
Me too.
That,
That was why I
that
voted
is my
for it.
favorite part of the ride, even though I love every other element of the
Yeah.
ride. I think Tanner's right though. No compromise.
yeah,
I was going to suggest maybe our ride vehicle being that trackless omnimover, but using like Dr. Facilier's hat as a thing so it can roll and voodoo.
I was kind of picturing kind of like the Haunted Mansion omnimovers, the
Yeah.
Doom buggies, okay? But I was picturing if you think about Faslier's his office or his shop or whatever, they've got those like crushed velvet chairs that are kind
Yeah,
of worn out.
that's
and
what
it's
they're
got
sitting
the
in.
red and the gold fringe
With the
and
high back and
Yeah, with
it's
the very
like
tall
the
back.
wingback chairs.
Yeah, I was
I like
thinking
that.
kind of something like that. Like you sat down in your chair at his table, and then the chair like grabbed you, and now
Yeah.
you're being,
And
going through this ride, and you're stuck in your
With
chair.
the trackless system, you have the option of all the chairs like rounding up around a table, and he's literally that's when he's pulling.
Oh,
out
that'd
his
be
tarot
kinda
cards.
cool.
Because that is
Yeah, I
one
like
thing. Because
that.
we
I
were
like that a
talking
lot.
about trackless and
So-
omnimover like it was interchangeable. It's not. Trackless rides are not omnimovers.
okay.
Those are two
So
different.
I love the idea of like multi-incorporation, like it's the large entrance queue, right? You each get in like a set of 4 or 5 to 6 different chairs. You go on like an initial part of the ride, and then all of a sudden you snap, and you can actually see the people around you.
Right.
around this table, and then Facility draws a card for each of
Exactly,
you.
and then that's when you separate.
and that's when you separate, and that's when it's chosen which of these little tracks.
So it's really pointing out to you, like, these are the people you're with. Look at everyone. We're all together on this ride, and then suddenly we're not. All right, that in mind, do you think we're ready to wrap up this segment? I think
Eric, how do you feel?
I
What's your
feel
pitch?
great.
the other side. That's what we're going at.
I feel the other side.
Was
I
there
feel really good.
anything you had envisioned that we didn't touch on, or you were hoping you would hear more about?
No, I came in very much on the theme of the queue and the exit as sort of my pulls to it, and your guys' knowledge of how the actual functionality of the rides work was very helpful in fleshing it out into a really cool idea.
Awesome. Yeah,
So-
I am excited to ride this, and I will be very disappointed when Disney does not build it.
Yeah, no, I feel great about it. Thanks, guys. That was cool.
yeah.
I
All right, cool. So
appreciate it.
that is the other side. Let's put it in our own Disney park that we're creating here. That being said, shall we move on to our final segment for the podcast?
It's the lightning round.
The way this works is it's going to generate a ride type, or I mean an attraction
Attraction
type,
type, yeah.
not a ride type, an attraction type, and a Disney IP. And then we have to quickly come up with that ride and pitch that ride
30
and hope
seconds.
it's not terrible. The type of attraction we are working with is a flat ride. To clarify what that is kind of like carnival rides would fall into a flat ride category. So we're
Okay.
talking like the Scrambler
Okay.
or anything that can exist on a flat surface. So not a roller coaster, not a... Commonly, flat rides are going to be your spinning rides.
Okay.
All right, and our theme is the Muppets.
Okay.
Who's going to start us off?
Let's roll the pyramidal object.
Two.
Tanner.
All right, so here for this ride we have Animal Scrambler, in which we'll have a giant animatronic of an animal causing chaos in the middle as different cars are thrown around, almost colliding with each other as Animal laughs maniacally, celebrating his new great time. The cars will each be designed as a drum kit, as an individual drum as they bounce around to loud music of Animal drumming.
Nice.
Nice.
You took Animal from me, and now I'm sad.
See, there's advantages and disadvantages to going first.
Yeah. All right, I believe our next puts is Jake.
Oh, am I next?
You're next.
Are we going counterclockwise?
Oh, I guess it's me.
All right.
So it's going to be the Swedish chef Smash-a-Palooza. We're each getting our own little cars that go up and down as a giant Swedish chef uses his arms to smash us into the ground and make food out of us and sing weird songs and stuff.
Excellent job, Eric.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
All right, Brock,
I'm running out of Muppets here.
it's all back to you.
All right, we are talking about New Zealand and his boomerang fish. New Zealand has invented a giant contraption that helps fling giant boomerang fish. Each of us is going to ride a boomerang fish. It's going to be a cart. It's going to be like, silly cartoon fish bony kind of thing that we're sitting in. And we're going to spin around, flying, spinning round and back to New Zealand. And we go round and back like a boomerang. New Zealand's giant boomerang fish. That's my pitch.
Honestly, strong starts, guys.
Honestly, and for everyone at home who doesn't know who New Zealand is,
And for everyone at this table.
That's a show
New
his.
Zealand
New
is.
Zealand is a very specific Muppet whose entire shtick is that he throws fish that come back to him.
He's the one with the mustache and he wears like the Elizabethan
Oh,
collar.
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll say sure.
Yeah. I'm going to make it sound like I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, New Zealand or New Zealand. I'm not exactly sure.
I do know those Kiwis love their fish. Anyways, let's go to Jake in 3, 2, 1.
All right, so I'm going to have to go with Gonzo the Great. He's one of my favorite Muppets of all time. And this is going to be very similar to Luigi's family coming to town, except everybody, as the riders, is going to be sitting in a chicken. And you're part of Gonzo's chicken chorus. And he's trying to teach them how to dance. And the chickens are not listening because it's Gonzo. And of course, since it's Gonzo, there's going to be cannons involved and fire. And everything's going to go wrong. It's all just going to go to hell. And that's what I pitch. You are a chicken being trained by Gonzo.
Nice.
Honestly, my only concern with that is Gonzo might start smooching the cards.
Also, if you liked any of these ideas that we have in the lightning round, we will be putting up polls on our social media for you all to vote for them and bring them back in a later episode. So that is very exciting.
All right, and speaking of that, everybody make sure to check us out on Facebook. Jake?
We are at facebook.com/Main Street Musings.
All right, and at Twitter, Eric?
At MSM_podcast.
And at Instagram, Tanner.
We are main_street_musings.
All right, and I am Brock. This has been Main Street Musings, the experimental podcast of tomorrow. Join us next time when we will be talking about rides themed around Mulan.
Topical.